Infantry Lasguns. These are the staple weapons of the Imperial Guard. Dubbed the Emperor's Flashlights, these are cheap yet potent and burn their foes with extremely hot laser projectiles. In Darktide we have a trio of them where historically only one reigned king, the MG XII. This lasgun has always been the best choice with its slower but more devastating shots. Patch 14 brought buffs for the 1A and 4 variants, but will they be enough to compete with or even dethrone the MG XII as the best infantry lasgun? First, here's the skill tree I'm running for the video, just so you know where my damage boosts are coming from. Right, let's go through the variants and what differentiates them. The weapons I will be comparing all have 79 to 80% damage rolls. So, starting off with the defending champion, the MG XII. This variant sports a longer body and a wooden stock, fitting of the stability needed to handle its more powerful shot. This is the slowest firing of the three, with a fire rate of approximately 3 shots per second. The MG XIa is the variant that sits in the middle of the three, sporting a marginally smaller body. It has, I would say, a fire rate roughly a third faster than that of the MG XII, at just over 4 shots per second, and only deals about 18% less damage per shot. Meaning on paper, the DPS of this variant is now extremely higher than the MG XII after the buffs in patch 14. And then we come to the MG IV, which has a noticeably smaller body than the other two, with a very lightweight stock and short barrel. This shoots twice as fast as the MG XII at a fire rate of 6 shots per second, and deals 40% less damage than the MG XIa. When we pitch the base damage DPS values against each other, there is actually a draw, and that is between the MG XIa and MG IV variants. They drew in this instance because my 1A has a 79% damage roll compared to my 4's 80%, meaning they effectively have the same DPS output, if they both had 80%. The MG XII's status is under real threat. Previously, I have said that the MG XII is the better option due to its being easy to stably get precise shots because of the slower fire rate. But after these buffs now, the 1A and 4 hit such reliable time to kill numbers, it's hard not to think that they may be edging it now. With unarmoured, the MG XIa and MG IV will both hit new breakpoints for Dreg shotgunners, gunners, stalkers and shooters, meaning they're both able to one-shot these units on a weak spot hit, without volley fire or executioner stance as it's called these days. The MG XII can do this as well, however the other variants shoot so much faster while they're at it. After having used both the 1A and 4 in-game since patch 14, I will actually have to say it. The MG XII, it has been dethroned. It's stepping down the podium to get the bronze, which in this case is a glorified way to say, it's come last. You can't have joint winners on a podium after all, but the 1A and 4 are joint winners. Picking between the two is like splitting hairs, so it's completely down to preference. Now, the MG XII by no means is bad, and it will still be an extremely formidable weapon that is more than viable for Auric Maelstrom and beyond, but for you that like to eke the absolute most DPS out of your weapon, I think the MG XIa is going to take the cake. It balances a faster fire rate with more DPS over the MG XII. Without being too fast, it becomes too hard to aim. The MG IV is there on paper, but you need to get used to its faster fire rate and really leverage how fast it does shoot to see the benefit from it. At the end of the day, because the MG XII has such strong breakpoints, the infantry lasguns have been made, for the average player, pretty much equal to each other. So, try all three and use whichever you like best. For some tips on the best blessings and perks with them, black and unarmoured damage as your perks really helps smash some breakpoints for all of the weapons. This will generally also help you if you are a shooter-focused infantry lasgun user, as I am, as all shooters are under these armour types. For the best blessings, you really want to have Headhunter and Deadly Accurate. These are hands down the best blessings you really want to have for the weapons. Not only will Headhunter synergize with the Shock Trooper talent, which will give us almost infinite ammunition in a run, it helps you trigger Deadly Accurate extremely often. And Deadly Accurate at level 4 is essentially double damage to the head. This enables all 3 of the lasguns to hit absolutely ludicrous weak spot breakpoints, so you do not want to miss out on that, especially as these weapons crit quite a lot. Now, the main thing these weapons do is they excel at clearing rooms full of shooters with a good executioner's stance build. So I'll quickly go through my talent tree setup for the weapons. Okay, so we've got an extremely left-bearing classic shooter veteran build going on in the talent tree here. As we go down, we've got extra base damage for our shooting, as well as reload speed, picking up the Shredder Frag Grenade as we're going straight down to the left, beelining for the bottom. Key nodes really, so we've got Survivalist, which is going to help us, you know, keep that infinite ammo that we're going to stack with Shock Trooper, as we're going to get a lot of critical hits, especially with the Headhunter Blessing. And then we move on to, you know, a little bit more base damage. Got Executioner's Stance, obviously augmented with Relentless to keep the ability online, and Counterfire to make sure we get all shooters highlighted, which will enable us to absolutely obliterate rooms entirely full of them. That's the main key that we're doing here with the Emperor's Flashlight. We do veer off to the right-hand side to jump into some extra damage. So we've just got ability cooldown and then some Ogryns and Monstrosity damage, as well as Elites damage, which will help with Shotgunners and Gunners. A little bit of health boost, but we need confirmed kill specifically from this tree. This is going to keep you alive massively. Every shotgunner, every gunner, every specialist, every elite is going to give you 25% toughness, and then it's going to give you a further 25% toughness over 10 seconds after that, which is absolutely massive. It stacks, I think, around 5-6 times. So you're just going to become an absolutely unstoppable force, almost making it as it was before, where you could completely face tank things. You still need to be aware of the odd pox groaner that's going to come and smack you from behind whilst you're tunnel visioning with your Lasgun, which is what I do quite often. But Exhilarating Takedown is going to help with that, as well as, you know, we want to get as many weak spot kills as possible. This is going to stack some toughness damage reduction, as well as giving us toughness as well. And so, yep, Shock Trooper, obviously one I've spoken about. We're going to keep stacking critical hits, which means we're going to essentially effectively feel like we have infinite ammo throughout the entire match. It's going to be key to keeping us shooting. This feat will also enable you to just blasé shoot into hordes and not have to worry about ammunition, by the way. So if you see a horde come in and you're using the 1A or the MG4, just blast straight into them. I mean, you could do it with the MG XII, but it feels a lot more satisfying to do it with the faster shooting variants. And, you know, you're going to rack up more damage, you're going to rack up more kills. Just going to help the team more. And we've got more weak spot damage because we're really gunning for those weak spot hits. Anything we can do to boost Deadly Accurate is going to help us a ton, because it's going to just break ludicrous breakpoints. You're going to one-shot the biggest of enemies. And we got a little bit of extra ammo, which is going to help us in our ammo regeneration, but we did go to the bottom here to get our ability modifier Marksman, where we'll get an extra 50% power. 50% power for 10 seconds when we use the ability. So a lot of people do prefer to come down into the middle and veer down to Rending Strikes, picking up competitive urge along the way. But because we're using Deadly Accurate and Headhunter, which means we're going to be proccing Deadly Accurate quite a lot if we're hitting weak spots, this is just going to make us do ludicrous damage that we do not want to miss out on. So that is my build mainly for the Lasguns, the Infantry Lasguns specifically, though I'll probably use a similar thing for the Recons as well. But yeah, as I mentioned, you want flak damage and unarmored damage to really make the most out of the Infantry Lasguns if you're focusing on killing ranged enemies and shooters. And yeah, it's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And I know after patch 13 dropped, there was a lot of kind of the veterans not really a shooter anymore, because you just die and your weapons don't do enough damage, and it just never felt that good. But after patch 14, you can become a classic Imperial Guard soldier, you know, a shock trooper, Acadian shock trooper. You can just stand still and blast all of the enemies. How many teams have you been on where there's not been a veteran to shoot any of the shooters, gunners, or anything like that? Now you're that person. You are them. Get Executioner's Stance on and obliterate every single one of them. This has been a mildly different video to the norm, but the Emperor's Flashlight is one of my favourite weapons to use in Darktide. So I thought, I'd dedicate a video to them now that the MG XIa and the MG4 have been healthily buffed. I'll be getting some gameplay using the buff variants in a build I'm going to dub the Acadian Sharpshooter, and I've gone over the build briefly today, but yeah, I'll be going into a little bit more depth, explaining why it's one of the most reliable builds to use in the Hive. So drop a subscribe if you would like to look out for that build, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.